I just want to welcome everyone to the Policy and Resources Committee. We're based here in the Grange with several councillors and the rest on WebEx. And it's Wednesday the 10th of November 2021 and starting at 7 p.m. Before I start, members, I know there have been quite a few difficulties with this system as it is, or the process. I just want to inform you that those in WebEx, the chat function should be used for to report any technical difficulties that anybody's having or on somebody else's behalf or whatever. Points of order, and also any requests for recorded votes. I think that's really the reasons we should use the chat function, and that is because of the two different systems joining together. So we'll go straight into the agenda, and the first item on the agenda is apologies. Can I have any apologies from Sinn Féin? And I'll ask for Councillor Mcguire, please.
Thank you. Heard just one apology, Councillor Glenn Campbell. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tommy. On the behalf of the Ulster Unionist Party, Councillor Robert Irvine.
Thank you very much, Chair. I have two apologies, Councillor Bert Wilson and Councillor John Mccaffrey. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Irvine. Councillor Mary Garrity on behalf of the SDLP.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, Howard. One late coming to the meeting will be Councillor Paul Blake. Other than that, no apologies. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mary. The next one is Councillor Robinson on behalf of the DUP.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Paul Stevenson, apology for him.
Okay, thank you. Now for single party or independence, have we any apologies, please? I'm hearing or seeing none there, so all no apologies on behalf of them. The second item on the agenda is to sign minutes and confidential minutes of previous meeting held on the 13th of October 2021 and confirm that I've signed both sets of minutes just prior to the meeting. Item 3 on the agenda is declarations of interest. If you could provide any declarations of interest you have tonight at this meeting, please. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Item number 11.
Okay, thank you.
And Chair, if I may, on behalf just from the officers, a declaration in the paper F, the information for noting item 2.2 relating to local government pay, and also then personally, Chair, item 3.8 on paper G, which is the confidential staff report.
Okay, thank you, Alison. I'm not seeing any further declarations of interest. So we will move on to item 4, which is matters arising from the minutes. We'll go through this in order. Page 1, page 2. Alison.
Chair, just to refer members to correspondence received from the Department for the Economy, and this is in relation to the Council's representations that businesses be included within flood relief emergency financial assistance schemes. So the Minister has advised that this is not something that is currently within their gift, nor something that is being proposed, Chair, by the Department.
Okay, has any members any comments on that? I want a note in return. Councillor Feely.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is an issue I would have raised about a few months ago after the flood in Garrison. Just disappointed with the letter, like that there's nothing more that can be done from the Minister or for the Department of Communities, like for businesses, but just disappointed. But that's all I can say about it, and kind of to be expected. But I just proposed noting of it. Just that's it.
You're proposing for noting, Anthony. Thank you very much. Councillor John Coyle.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second the noting of it. Rather disappointing, but at least they're signposting that there is hardship rates relief. So it is, we can forward on to businesses that were affected. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coyle. I think we move on now to page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Alison?
Yep, Chair, page 5, item 452, just to refer members to correspondence received from the Department of Education dated the 5th of November. So it's in your other correspondence folder, number 831. So in summary, Chair, the Minister is expressing disappointment that the Council is dissatisfied regarding the explanations about the difficulties of school bus provision that we previously highlighted. And she really, I suppose, reiterates the assurances that she had previously provided together with the assurances received from the Education Authority.
Okay, thank you, Alison. First speaker here is Councillor Robert Irvine.
It's on page 6, Chairman.
6. Councillor Donald Mccaffrey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This letter from the Minister is quite disingenuous, I believe. It also avoids the issue which we had raised in our original correspondence around the outsourcing to private companies of this work. And indeed, the fact that over many years there has been a failure to properly recruit and to retain and plan, forward planning in terms of staff capacity, especially in relation to an aging workforce. That this is well known, certainly among, if you speak to any bus driver, they will be aware that this has been a long-term problem. I also, and that's not dealt with at all in her response. Equally, the issue around the current inadequacy of provision and the succession planning is not reflected in this response at all. I think this is, she also fails to recognize, she kind of blames the issue on rurality and also to state that this is a problem in the private sector, which it certainly is a problem in the private sector for almost the exact same reasons. And that's exactly what we had said in our discussion on this previously. So we write a letter here to the Minister. The Minister effectively ignores all the points in it and just repeats the same mantra. So I'm happy to propose the note, but I'm unhappy with the response received. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coffey. Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just on the same thing that Councillor Coffey was on there, I would actually propose that we write back and point out inconsistencies or reply from the Minister and query why what was asked wasn't dealt with in the letter.
Councillor Green, are you willing to second the noting of it? And then
Yeah, I am. I'm willing to second the noting of it, but I make that proposal too, in around the lines that Councillor Coffey had mentioned there.
Okay, can I take it, Councillor Coffey, that you're willing to second Councillor Green's proposal that we return a letter with? Sorry, forget that. I'm running two systems here.
Happy to do so, Chair.
That's fine. Councillor Coffey and Councillor Green has made a proposal that we write back with the areas of concern as outlined. Is everybody in agreement? I assume that everybody is in agreement. If there's any dissenters, please indicate. Okay, that's passed. Now we move on to, that's page 5. I don't think there's anything else on page 5. Page 6, Councillor Irvine, you wish to come in on that?
Yeah, thanks very much, Chair. I've just been asked by my colleagues, Councillor Wilson and Mccaffrey, who aren't in the chamber due to other reasons, to mention the plight currently of farmers, and it's really under 5.3. Financial assistance is coming to other businesses, but farmers are particularly severe problem, so I'd just like that to be noted in the minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Irvine. We're going to move on now to page 7, page 8, page 9. I will actually raise an issue that is in the page 9, and that's with regard to 8.1 responsible procurement. Basically, there were some comments issued at the council meeting about the way I dealt with this. There seemed to be two separate issues raised. The first is the way I dealt with the amended policy at the last two meetings, and the second issue is what I said about the impact of words used by a councillor and their impact actually on staff. I'll deal with the first issue. You know, I can advise all that owing to the comments raised at the council meeting last week, I undertook a full review of the topic in hand and the way I dealt with at both the meetings in September and October. I stand by the way I dealt with it, the overall issue, and if any member has any issue with the way I dealt with it, they have recourse available to them. I don't intend to start a ping-pong session here about the issue. I'll not wish to take really any further comments on the issue. And as far as I'm concerned, the issue is closed. On the second issue raised, all members have signed a code of conduct to which we must give respect to other council members and particularly council officers and staff. As such, we are the employers in this council, and we are the employers to council staff. So we also have to consider our employers' duty of care. Staff have no voice in this chamber, and I believe that as chairman of this committee, I have a responsibility to oversee conduct within the committee, especially with regard to staff. When we speak at meetings, and especially if they are open meetings to the public, we have to consider the implications of what we say and the impact they may have, especially on any staff concerned. We have to realise the implications of our words. Prior to our last meeting, it was drawn to my attention that a number of staff had been very unhappy with the words of Councillor Mccaffrey used when he stated that the policy paper provided was very inadequate. At our last meeting, I advised Councillor Mccaffrey that his words were perceived as an insult to staff. I spoke directly after the meeting to Councillor Mccaffrey, and I now believe that perhaps he had not intended the way his words were perceived by staff. I thereby believe that it's best for all involved if I afford him an opportunity tonight to fully explain the term he used, because as I say, I don't think he intended the consequences to staff of the words he used. Now, I will therefore ask Councillor Mccaffrey if he wishes to use the opportunity to clarify his previous comments, but I will not allow a revision of the overall policy review. So I'm going to ask Councillor Mccaffrey to come in on that point, please.
Thank you, Chair. I actually had to spoke to you ahead of this meeting. I didn't know you were going to speak first, but in any case, I do want to clarify, because if I certainly don't want it to be understood that I insulted any member of staff. But what I said was, and it was a rush comment, that, and I think you will recognise that this was a very inadequate report, in my honest opinion, and it is a genuine perception of mine that report was inadequate. This is dealing with something around the integration of social and economic policy goals within the procurement process. And I think that we need to, I think that we can do a lot more around that, for example, around apprenticeships and so on. I would not like any member of staff, of course, to consider that if I said something was an inadequate or very inadequate report, that it in any way reflected upon their commitment as a member of staff, or I certainly would never do that. I try not to personalize my politics in any sense. But my comments were about the content of the report, and that is exactly what I keep my politics to, the exact issue. So what I would ask is that this is a very important issue. I think I do recognize, Councillor Thornton, you have an understanding of potential of this to actually advance this is one of the few measures, I think, one of the few levers that the council has to actually affect change beyond our own expenditure, because we can actually encourage employers to take on positive steps in terms of 0 hours contracts or whatever else. And I would ask if it's possible at some stage for this to come back. It's something I've tried to raise since I was first elected. And I think it's something that we as a council should certainly take the lead on. So if any member of staff feels that I said very inadequate was a reflection on them, it certainly wasn't. It was a reflection on the document, and that's the way I always approach politics. Thank you, Chair.
I very much thank you for those comments, and I hope that that has clarified the situation. And I'm very happy that you have said that, and to me the matter is closed. As with regard to, I understand from your comments that you have, and I'm sure that this will be brought back in due course. There was an amendment made, with this policy, and I hope that it's an ongoing thing that can come back before this committee. So, as I said at the start, I'm not taking any further comments on it. I thank you, Councillor Mccaffrey, for clarifying the position, especially towards staff. Thank you. Sorry, I'm being told here, calling user 2. Could you identify yourself, please? We will keep checking. Councillor Mcguire flashing there. So I've said that on the last topic, there will be no more speakers.
Hello, Councillor Sean Clark.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Right.
We're not. Sorry, Councillor Mcguire, have you any other issues other than the one that I talked about on page 9? Okay, thank you.
To clarify, it is on 8.1, but it's an unrelated issue to the one addressed by yourself and Councillor Mccaffrey.
Sorry, can you explain yourself?
Yeah, certainly. The noting on the direction on the night was that there's 2 points here. First of all, that you had advised that the director hadn't received any communications.
Sorry, listen, Councillor Mcguire, it is directly involved with the topic that I spoke about, and I moved on.
Chair, in relation to 8.1 then.
Okay, we're moved on now to page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Thank you, Alison.
Page 12, Chair, just to item 10.1. To refer members to the response received from the head of the civil service, Dr. Jane Brady. So this related to members' concerns about the difficulties in contacting some central government departments. And in summary, Chair, the response is indicating that, well, first of all, if we would provide further detail on the experiences, but also making reference to the NI Direct website and also additional measures that are being put in place that it's hoped will alleviate the situation.
Okay, I have Councillor Bernice Swift.
Agat Kirlock, and just related really to this correspondence from the head of the civil service, Alison, and it's to do with the DFE Spend Local, the prepaid MasterCard, okay? And I know other members are having the same experience. It is causing master annoyance and frustration and confusion for many of our citizens. And unfortunately, people who are unable or incapable of negotiating the NI Direct website, it is becoming quite the problem. And I would ask if you can go back and make an inquiry that perhaps a dedicated hotline for us councillors to help and assist citizens who find themselves in this difficult situation. because the shop local card, whilst a good idea, is becoming not such a good idea for those who are anxious at this point, who still have not received it. I didn't have any difficulties myself, but I do believe the bureaucracy has gone mad for those who have been asked for more information and more information via email. I have made representation on behalf of a few citizens myself nearly a week ago now via the email customer helpline, and I still haven't received a response. So that's not acceptable. So Alison, please, if you can make inquiries as a matter of urgency, that we can have a dedicated line, or at least that they do their very best to expedite these cards to the anxious citizens who have applied.
Sorry, Councillor Swift, you're proposed noting and also proposing that Alison makes further inquiries as to what you said. Thank you. The next one, and I'm trying to alternate between the room and WebEx. The next one I have on the list is Councillor Alex Baird.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to use the old councillor's euphemism. I'm very disappointed in the response by the head of the civil service. What I raised and what was agreed by my colleagues was that the amount of time we waste as public representatives, and indeed our constituents waste when they're trying to get through to various government departments, and all the head of the civil service did was, when we served the ball, they threw it back over the net at us. I'm sure that with the modern technology that they have, when you phone up a department or an agency, you're put into a queue. I'm sure the technology is there to know how many people are in the queue and how long people are waiting. So for the head of the civil service to come back and ask for specific examples is unacceptable. I believe that they should have initiated an investigation through their own technological way of finding out what the waiting times are and what waiting times are exorbitant and unacceptable, and put staff in accordingly. So as I say, I'm unsure what to do, to be honest with you, but I think we should write back to them and say, rather than them asking for us for examples, to use their technological knowledge through the various arms of government to ascertain what the waiting lists are for someone trying to make a call, and to act accordingly to reduce those waiting lists. I would so propose.
Are you prepared to second the noting of?
Well, I'm happy enough to, Chair, I'm happy enough to note it, but I still think that we should put the ball back over the net to them again to extract the digit and come up with the information which I believe they have at hand, and to take action accordingly.
Councillor Swift, I think your proposal more or less ties in. Are you willing to accept all of the, and Councillor Baird, you're willing to second all that? Is that correct?
Well, if Councillor Swift accepts that as part of hers, I'll second it, certainly.
That's lovely, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Back to the chamber, and Councillor Earl Thompson. Hold on.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I find myself agreeing with the previous two councillors on a lot of these issues. And Councillor Swift has referred to the spend local card. I think all of us as public representatives have had issues with that. It's a great idea, and if it's rolled out properly, it will get to the people concerned, and hopefully it will work out in the longer run. But there have been problems with it, and there have been problems right across the board. I know of people in the same household. Maybe the wife has received the card, the husband hasn't received it, and maybe the two of them have been applied for at the same time. And that's right across the province. And I've even spoken to people in the department, and they're in the same boat as everyone else. So there's a breakdown there somewhere, but hopefully that'll be remedied and actions will flow from that. With regard to the letter coming back, I'm happy enough as well for the noting of it. I think we had our special meeting here with the Northern Ireland Housing Executive recently. We did ask for an upgraded list to be given to all elected representatives in this chamber. I've yet to receive that, and I know this has been a change of personnel probably right across this western area, and I'm sure across Northern Ireland for that matter. but it would be just, it'd be nice to get that list and that we have a point of contact and that we, as elected representatives, can make that contact as soon as possible on behalf of all our constituents. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure as Chair of Council, you'll pursue that in whatever
Yep.
avenue you can.
Thank you.
Please. So, thank you. Now moving back to WebEx, Councillor Anthony Feely.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and I'll be brief. I was going to second Councillor Swift's proposal there, but I think Alex done it there. Yeah, I get a serious amount of issues with this spend local cars as well. People, in fact, a few people just came to my house. They had no, some of the bad internet had no internet, looking to get IDs where to scan passports and scan utility bills for them and get them emailed away, which shouldn't really have to be done. I didn't like doing it, the personal details, but they wanted to get the £100 and I done it for them. And in fact, even since people have got the cars, people is having problems now getting them activated. And there's just 2 or 3 issues at the minute, can't get cars activated. And in fact, some people just said it wasn't even worth the bother about £100. Like, what if they been getting £1,000, what would it have been like even for £100? And in fact, some people just threw it down, didn't even bother about it, you know. So it's been serious issues. If we could have got a phone number that we could ring direct, would have been great. I doubt we will get it because we're saying I give phone numbers to people and tell you to ring, and there could be 4 or 5 hours waiting, so they didn't bother about it. It's been a complete disaster. So I just think that is a good idea if we get a phone number, but I don't think we will. So that's just to make a comment on it, you know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Feely. Another couple of speakers here. Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just a number of things there, agreeing with previous councillors, agree with Alex on his thoughts there. As for the examples, I have rang a number of agencies, housing agencies, NIW, NIE, and you can't, it's almost impossible to get through to them. You wait for maybe an hour and then they cut you off. Government departments is the same, and then you start all over again. But there's one exception. There was 2 alternatives to one of the things. One of them was if you had problems with your paying your rent, to be able to go to somebody to accept the payment. It was answered straight away, and I pointed that out. And the same with NIE and NIW. If you're paying a bill, if they are taking money off you, it can be answered straight away. But if you have a problem, if you have a housing problem, if you have an electricity problem, a water problem, nobody wants to know. Just leave it at that. The other one that I would actually quite like, and I might propose that there's a letter wrote to Minister Lyons in around a Pacific problem where people has been told that they couldn't apply for the voucher scheme because their national insurance number had already been used. A few people has come to me about that, and emails, nothing has been replied to. I even wrote to the Minister's office about it. I got no reply. I didn't even get a response or an acknowledgement. So I would propose that the council writes on that exact issue, because it really is annoying and quite scary for people that their national insurance number has been used and nobody seems to give a dang about it. And they're getting no response when they're contacting. So I would propose that we write to the Minister on that specific issue and ask when it's going to be got sorted, and when people will be contacted and their fears allayed.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Green. And again, I'm reverting back to the chamber. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. This is 10.1. Sorry. Okay, I'll come back to you. Okay. Next one is Councillor Chris Mccaffrey.
Gormaga Caherly, thank you, Chair. And I would be in full agreement with what has been said by my previous council colleagues and councillors here tonight. I do want to preface this by saying I've also had some very positive experiences when dealing with the civil service and other personnel, particularly in some emergency situations. But I do think that is a ridiculous reply that we're essentially being asked now to name and shame some of these people who we've all had slow or else unsatisfactory responses, or as stated, sometimes no responses from. I think that is absolutely a childish way to deal with this. Surely they have the capabilities within the civil service to track this. You know, our phone calls, for example, not supposed to be recorded for training and monitoring purposes to improve the staff. We've all had this reply, notwithstanding some individuals' working hours or particular working arrangements. However, when some staff are not in the office, they're working from home, and yet we ring up and you're told that that particular person isn't in the office today. No contact can be made through telephone, so therefore you email and you possibly wait 2 weeks or longer. I do have an experience within the Department of Education where I am waiting for a fairly senior civil servant to get back to me on an issue which is deeply affecting people in my area, and I've followed up with multiple emails and still nothing. And when I ring, I'm told that that person is not in the office. So there's stuff like that which is happening every day, not just to the councillors, but surely all other political representatives. So I would just agree. I would just agree with. Sorry, I think there's people speaking there. But I would just agree that you know, this is a huge issue. Surely the point of public service is to lessen the gap between the government and the people. Whenever that gap is already so wide for the public representatives, I find that disgraceful. I mean, I think we do deserve a dedicated telephone line to access government services more easily for our constituents, and I don't know if that fits in with the proposal. I believe it does, but if not, I'm happy to make that a proposal of my own, but just like to concur with what has been said.
Yeah, before you go, Councillor Mccaffrey, that was part of the original proposal, the new original proposal, shall we say, from Councillor let me see, Councillor Swift and Councillor Baird, sorry. And with regard to the seconding of Councillor Green's report, are you willing to do that, Councillor Mccaffrey?
Yes, I am willing to second that proposal, yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McElduff, you're looking in, if you could be brief, please, because I have two proposals here and we've had quite a lot of commentary on this issue.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, we can, yes.
That's great, thank you. Just 3 points, and I'll make them very brief. First, dedicated telephone line to the Department for Economy, as proposed by Councillor Swift. Excellent suggestion and much needed. Number 2, another government agency that a lot of us find difficult to find out who is the right person to engage with, and we've said this before, is the Education Authority. I'm just wondering if the Education Authority ever corresponded with us to give us a directory of contacts. I remember one meeting where the Education Authority said that they would provide it that evening, that they were going straight away to provide it that very evening. And I've heard tell of painters and plumbers saying to people, I'm leaving the house now to go to you, and they never ever arrive. But we have never received, I believe, that directory of contacts for the Education Authority to keep us right. And thirdly, some government departments have a way of being evasive in this sense. You ask them, is the particular official that you're looking for available? And one answer I got was, he's not here, I can't see him, he's not at his desk. Having said that, his jacket is on his chair, so he can't be far away. And I think that jacket has been there for 6 months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff. If I just ask Alison if that number has been produced by Department of Education.
No, Chair, the Education Authority, to the best of my knowledge, we didn't receive an updated schedule, and as Councillor McElduff indicated, it was promised imminently, so we will certainly follow up on that. But just in terms of the Housing Executive Contacts, Chair, to confirm that was issued, it was actually appended to the action sheet following the special council meeting, so members should have that already, we would hope. But if there's any difficulties, if members come back to us.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Again, I've been asked about call-in user 3. Is Councillor Clark? Could you confirm, please? Calling user 3.
Hello, Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much, Sean. Thank you. Cheers. Right, members, just to come back there, we've had 2 proposals and a lot of discontent expressed, and I'm sure everybody is suffering from it. Is everybody in agreement with the 2 proposals that have been forwarded? Except to the contrary, I assume that we're in full agreement. Okay, that's passed. Thank you. Coming on now to Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly, you wish to come in on 10.2.
Thank you, Chair. In relation to 10.2, I'm aware that we've been advised by DFA that they hope to have a contractor appointed in January. And I know we discussed the issues in terms of the Gilligully Road at a meeting last week. But even since that meeting, there has been yet another accident on that road. I really do believe that we need to seek urgent intervention from the Minister to ensure essential works are carried out on that road. Because at the minute, the road's only wet. What's it not going to be like when it comes to the winter time? I would be concerned that, you know, there's potential risk of loss of life. The amount of accidents that have occurred on the Gilligully Road, you know, it's a regular occurrence now, and that wouldn't have been the case. So the Minister needs to step in. We can't wait to January. So I'm hoping that we do get a more positive response, an urgent response to the letter that's been sent from our meeting earlier in the week. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. We're moving on now to page 13. And that is the minutes and the matters arising. The next item on the agenda is item 5, and that's the Chief Executive Directorate reports. 5.1 is to consider draft response to the consultation on Northern Ireland Food Strategy Framework, Paper A. Now, before I ask Margaret to come in, as many of us are aware, probably this is Margaret's last engagement at this meeting, the Policy and Resources Committee, as she's hoping to retire. I believe it's next month. And whilst I don't want to bring in 40 councillors all in a row, I think I should speak on behalf of myself, the current chair of Policy and Resources, and former chairs of Policy and Resources from all parties or whatever, that we wish to thank you, Margaret, for the service you have provided. It's policy consultations are a very, very complex issue, as we are well aware, and we have 40 individuals who are elected by the people with differing views, and we reach executive decisions on behalf of them all. The work you put in and the patience, I think I have to note, and especially at the Policy and Resources Committee, I wish you a very happy retirement. I wish you a long life and good health. And on behalf of all present, and as I say, the former chairs, Policy and Resources, thank you very much for your services. You have been very patient, and I wish you well. So at that, I'm going to ask Margaret to go through 5.1 to consider draft response to the consultation on Northern Ireland Food Strategy Framework, Paper A. Margaret.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you.
Could you speak up, Margaret, please?
Sorry. Thank you, Chair, and again, thank you for what you just said. As you said, this is the draft consultation response to the Northern Ireland Food Strategy Framework, which closes on the 19th of November. It's a consultation on behalf of DAERA, but it has been developed collaboratively with officials across all the Northern Ireland departments. And it recognises the interconnectedness between food, health, the economy and the environment, and proposes a new strategic food systems approach for Northern Ireland. In drafting this response, we liaised with colleagues from other district councils in Northern Ireland. The draft consultation response, I think you'll see, is generally supportive of the strategy, but we do emphasise the importance of ensuring that farmers are at the centre of any transition in our food system. We also make points in relation to the importance of local councils being recognised as important partners in delivery. And just to bring your attention as well to the rural proofing implications, which are on page 2 of the report, number 6. The Rural Needs Impact Assessment does not appear to deal with the geographic availability of food outlets or shops. There has been an ongoing loss of smaller rural shops over the last 10+ years, with more food shopping relocating to larger urban settings. There is an opportunity to support the continued growth of rural food markets and farm outlets, both for local communities and as a tourism offering, especially relevant in our district. So it's recommended that the Council approves the draft response to the public consultation on the Northern Ireland Food Strategy Framework.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. The first speaker I have here is Councillor Chris Mccaffrey.
Thank you, Chair Gorbogget Cahill. Again, just to wish Margaret well in her retirement. I know firsthand, working with her over the past year and more on the Climate Change Resilience Group, of the tremendous work and tremendous service that she has provided to the Council, and we all deeply and greatly appreciate that. And I want to wish her the very best of luck in her retirement and much health as well. And just to come in to propose that report, Margaret again has done an excellent job referencing the plight of our rural district and the farmers here, and of course the need to ensure that local businesses here can continue to thrive, as well as the key role that local government can play as a delivery partner. So just to propose that, and again want to wish Margaret the very best.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mccaffrey. The second one in is Councillor Siobhan Curry.
For Margaret O'Carley, and I'd just like to echo your kind words there to Margaret. I think Margaret knows we will all miss her very much. She's done brilliant work. So best of luck, Margaret. Just on this report, I think it's a very good response, as usual, as we've come to expect from Margaret and her team. But I just have one request for maybe addition if it's thought appropriate. It's just on page 3 of the response under question 10, priority 2, building sustainable economic prosperity. And I think perhaps it might fit in best in the 4th paragraph down there, just with the framework should be compatible with other strategies. And I thought maybe, Chair, that we should also mention the ICBAN farm to fork strategy there in that as well, just with particularly that border element in it as well. So that is my only suggestion, Chair. If I'd be happy just to take Margaret's thoughts on that. If she thought it was appropriate, I think it is. We should be mentioning it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Curry. Can I bring Margaret again in just to make comment on that, please?
Sorry, I couldn't get unmuted there. Absolutely, we can add that in. That's the perfect place to put it in, and thanks for raising it.
Okay, thank you. Go back to Councillor Chris Mccaffrey. Are you quite happy you've proposed acceptance to include that with your proposal, Councillor Mccaffrey?
Yes, Chair, I am. Yes, an excellent addition by Councillor Curry. They're happy to include that.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker we have is Councillor Anthony Feely.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I'm not going to repeat everything that Siobhan and Chris said there, but I'm just glad that the farmers has been highlighted in this food strategy framework here, and this is similar to the topics we were discussing about in our agricultural liaison group meeting the other day about local food and the way entwined the two of them together. So I'm just glad there, and I don't know whether Siobhan seconded the proposal or not, but I'll be happy to second it as well. Second it if Siobhan hadn't seconded it.
Covered with the proposer overall, Anthony, but you're issuing support.
Yeah, and I'll be brief. As I was chair of the Policy and Resources Committee a few years back there, just want to wish Margaret the best of health and happiness in our time as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you very much, Councillor Feely. I think we've had it proposed and seconded with that minor amendment that we accept the recommendations on this consultation. Everybody satisfied with that, in agreement? I'm seeing no dissenters, so it's passed. The next item on the agenda is item 6, Corporate Services and Government's Directorate Reports. The first of these is 6.1, to consider a report on financial matters, which is paper B. And I'm going to hand over here to Celine.
Thank you, Chair. In this report, we have 5 main items, which are the management accounts for 6 months to the 30th of September, the quarterly information on Treasury management and prudential indicator outturn, some initial information for members on the estimates process and arrangements for 2022-23 preparation and setting of the rate, and then some budget variants related to the management accounts and the Northern Ireland Reval 2023 information on setting of the decapitalisation rates, a consultation exercise ongoing there. All of those are for approval by members and then in addition, for noting, we have information on the second quarter actual penny product for the Council for 21-22 and also the financial implications of COVID-19, just an information note there for members highlighting where they can access the detailed information. And we have also just received in today the D-rating grant information as well, but that will be reported in detail to the next meeting.
Okay, thank you, Celine.
The recommendations then is set out at section 9, approval of the various items A to E, and noting the information on actual penny product and the information on COVID-19.
Okay, I'm going to move out. Just to check the estimates processes, have we dates there? The stage, or is that to come later?
The issue there, Chair, is that the statutory date for setting the estimates has not yet been clarified. That's a date that's set out in legislation, and we need to arrange our special council meeting in accordance with that date. So we will work back from that once there is clarity on that. But we have indicated a meeting on week commencing the 6th of December in terms of the estimates working group. And we're looking at the afternoon of Monday, the 6th of December. And then on also again then on week commencing the 24th of January. And the date that we're looking at there is the morning of Thursday, the 27th of January. And we can issue those from Democratic Services later in the week if hopefully they will work. We have tried to alter the times again so that members can pick up on different sessions. And in advance of that, I will issue some information about, well, again, we have more detailed information on the management accounts that I think is quite relevant, as well as then some initial training material that we have recorded and an in-year workshop on reserve accounting, which I think is also relevant. So that will be issued again, hopefully later this week.
Okay, thank you, Celine. First speaker is Councillor Robert Irvine.
Thanks very much, Chair. Celine, a good set of figures, I have to say, as usual. Can I ask before I propose the recommendations, because I'm happy with the information provided, is it a timing issue in regard to spend as against to the budget?
Through the Chair, there are 2 issues that I would identify primarily. One is a number of staff vacancies, both at management level and in some service areas as well, and delays in the timing of appointments. That process of recruitment is very much live and ongoing, and it does mean that when those posts are filled, that the budgets they'll still be slightly underspent for this year. But that they will, there won't be the same level of variance going forward. The second issue really does relate to COVID and the fact that a number of our facilities have been closed. As members will know, we do subvent, we provide subsidy to the operation of those facilities. And because of the fact that we have made efficiencies in running around utility costs and other issues, so there has been effectively a saving on the level of subvention that is needed for some of our main facilities. So it's an interesting position, but that is the two main factors that I would identify. Maybe a few small timing issues there, but for the most part, staffing underspends and then reduced subventions and subsidies being provided.
Sorry, well, that would carry on to a further supplementary question and another comment. Supplementary questions. If there are timing issues with regard to, I suppose, filling staff posts, is that putting any pressure on existing staff in regard to cover? Are they able to hatch over, so to speak?
Through the chair, I suppose that's essentially what has been happening for this year to date, and we've had a number of cover arrangements in place, and as well as a few gaps where people have been moving maybe into other roles and have been covering too on a part-time basis perhaps, and also then yes, so we are where we are. It'll take another few months really to get our full complement of staff on board, but we're working through that. And again, partly, there would have been some concerns around, the COVID situation, and how the recovery and how that would look like. So I mean, we have been cautious in terms of those appointment processes. Equally, we've had a number of staff who, for various different reasons, have decided that they are not returning maybe to a position, or indeed are maybe leaving a little bit earlier than we had anticipated.
Yeah, well, I think I'll just make a comment on that before I go on further. I'll just say our staff have been brilliant in regard to what has happened over COVID, and it's extending on. And with this gap in sort of filling posts, I'm glad to hear that existing staff are able to carry forward, because we do see acting up payments coming through. And I could just say to the staff, well done. Thank you very much for patching over and filling up and standing forward to the mark. Next comment would be, if this situation may carry forward to the end, I would hope then that we would transfer certain surpluses, particularly when we've got a positive through the penny product, into the capital reserves, because our capital reserves, I think with the programme that we've gone ahead and the issue that we will have now with regard to sustainability, are going to become under pressure and they will be used. So I think it's good that we're getting that. So I'm finishing. I'll make the recommendation then with regard to all the points at point 9.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker is Councillor Earl Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thanks, Celine, for the report and all the in-depth work that goes on with this. If Councillor Irvine's making that a proposal to do with the recommendations, I'm happy to second recommendations at this time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Councillor Bernie Swift.
Yeah, Guramagat Kahirla. On the recommendations 9.1e, on the proposed response to the department on the Reveal 2023, the setting of the decapitalisation rates, and I just note from the minute that the policy division is engaging in the consultation and seeking the views on decapitalisation. It is an issue that comes up from time to time for many of our citizens and our ratepayers, and it can be quite the vexatious issue. And I am very satisfied that we are making a response to this consultation to continue with the same principles, all right, in current legislation. But I do feel we need to have sight of that perhaps before it is submitted. So can I ask Celine when we might expect to receive the draft response so that we can get the opportunity for amendments or proposals? At what meeting will that be coming to? Because I do have a few examples for on behalf of some citizens. Guramagat.
If I could just clarify through the chair that first of all, this relates to non-domestic properties, so it's not related to any issues of domestic property valuations. Secondly, it relates to a very specific and small group of properties which are set out in the report and in the information are, for example, schools, hospitals, fire, police stations, halls and airports. And it's basically saying that the basis that is used to calculate rates where that is levied is where there's no direct rental evidence available, and it's this matter of a contractor's basis. So just for clarity around what the exercise is, the submission date is Wednesday the 15th of September, and I will certainly undertake to ensure that it is circulated to members in advance of that date. I think that is the date of our next Policy and Resources Committee, so that date will be too late. So I will circulate the response and seek any further feedback on that in advance of that date.
Okay, you happy, Councillor? Okay, members, nobody else looking to come in here. You've heard it proposed and seconded that we approve the recommendations in 9.1 and the council notes the items in 9.2. Anybody in disagreement with that? Okay, that is passed. Thank you, members. The next paper is 6.2, to consider update report on procurement and tenders. That's paper C. And again, I'll ask Celine to come in on this issue, please.
Chair, this is a small report this month, but just to assure members that there is a lot of tendering and evaluation work that is currently ongoing. In terms of matters for approval, there are 3 items. One specific tender where we haven't received a number of responses in accordance with our policy, so that's why we're asking for council approval. The issue of an annual tender for hire of vehicles, and then 3 tender proposals to extend. Then in addition to that, there is information on tenders that have been awarded in accordance with delegated powers at section 3. The recommendations are at 9.1 and 9.2 for approval and noting as set out.
Okay, thank you, Celine. The first person I have speaking here is Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to propose the recommendations in 9.1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Donnelly. And the note of 9.2. Thank you very much. Councillor Mary Garty.
Thank you, Chair, and happy with the report. Thank you, Celine, and happy to second Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly's proposal there.
Thank you very much, Councillor Garty. You've heard it proposed and seconded. Has anybody any objection to that? All happy? That's passed. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is 6.3, and that's to consider a report on digital services strategic framework 2021 to 2026, and that is paper D. Celine, again, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this document is an evolution of the Council's ICT strategy, and we've now called it our Digital Services Strategic Framework. It is largely an internal document, and it has gone through some internal consultation to reach the draft that is before you here this evening. It updates the previous work and sets out priorities and commitments in the area of digital services, and also in particular recognises and addresses the challenges of cybersecurity. It does identify and contributes to the outcomes of our corporate plan, and then also supports a number of other activities and services, including marketing, communication and general engagement. At 2.2, the main objectives of the document are set out, and those are fourfold. Firstly, robust infrastructure, then integrated applications, online channels and effective governance. We're satisfied that our infrastructure has been robust and has certainly stood up to the challenges that we have faced over the last couple of years now with changing practices and service delivery. And that's really because we have had the strategy in place before and there has been investment to support that. We continue to look to ensure that our applications are effective and accessible and, where possible, integrated. The issue of online channels is something we have been working towards, and that is a continued focus, but not to the exclusion. And I mean, the Council has previously indicated a preference for other forms of communication and also other forms of engagement, including face-to-face. And we do have our council offices where that, and connect centres where that takes place. And then governance is obviously an important factor, both in terms of policy frameworks and ensuring that we have all of the business cases, etc., that is needed to commit and support investment. We propose that the Ict Steering Committee, which is again an internal officer-based group, which was established about 2 to 3 years ago, will continue to meet and be a platform for development and input into our ICT services. And then at 2.6, we've set out the delivery and review mechanisms. And I suppose key to that is that this strategy then is supported by a detailed implementation plan, which our IT team work through and incorporate. So this is setting out our vision and plans for digital services in the Council over the next 5-year period. And the recommendations are that the Council would approve this framework.
Okay, thank you, Celine, and other work obviously in this. And I'm looking for anybody if you wish to make a comment. Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, obviously, this is the way forward, and there's a lot of work to be done, and it's all very much above a lot of our heads what's going on there. So I have no reservation at all to propose the what's in the paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warrington. Councillor Mcguire.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll hop in off the second, and just a query on the paper and the provision, the content of it as well. As a member of the Disability Advisory Group, I suppose there's talk in it about not just from a council perspective, but from a citizen access to whether it's council channels or obviously people who are employed by the council who may have disabilities using this, people with visual impairments or deafness or whatever it might be. I don't see, I suppose, an over emphasis or an over mention of some of those things, whilst it's kind of there are subtle references maybe to some of them, efficiency and service availability and the like. I suppose I would like to see maybe something that would be more living up to our Section 75 commitments and to making it really inclusive and fully integrating some of those things. So I don't know if that's something that we can maybe go back on and beef up a wee bit, but I'd just maybe like that to be considered a bit further. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Mcguire. Celine, you wish to comment?
Chair, yes. I suppose one of the advantages of technology and the technology that is available is that it can be a great leveller, in that it can in particular support people with disabilities in the workplace, and that's something that we've done both in terms of hardware, software applications that have been available, but indeed I think many organisations are also finding that remote working does facilitate some people with to be able to participate and provide diversity in the workplace. I would highlight one of the underpinning principles is around fairness, and I suppose what we're saying there is that digital skills will be elevated to new levels so that all staff can be supported to meet their full potential. And I think we would be committed there to be that able-bodied or disabled staff or others, that's where we would seek to address it. In terms of our online channels, we now have, I think it's 36 services that are available to access online, which is quite a considerable amount. Again, there are positives and negatives to that, but in all instances, we do offer the in-person approach as well through our Connect centres and through other means and forms of engagement with the council. For any of our website or any sort of documentation, we can make it available on request in different formats to support those with other needs. And again, we have done that where that has been of benefit. So I mean, I'm very mindful that we have Disability Awareness Week is coming up shortly. And we've a lot of communication around that, and I'll certainly look to see and ensure that our IT arrangements do form part of that as well, Councillor, if that is satisfactory.
Councillor Mcguire, I take it that you're happy with that. Councillor O'Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. It's an interesting document, and a lot of work went into it, clearly. There's only really one question. It's not really sufficiently developed there. It's, I noticed underneath the business intelligence. And I wonder, has the council policy on data harvesting and the like of that? Because obviously a lot of providers, including public sector providers, no doubt, are obtaining a colossal amount of information around service users and so on. And I'm just wondering, do we have a policy on that? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coffey. Celine?
Through the Chair, I'm aware that this issue has been considered specifically in terms of cookies and access to websites. I may ask if Margaret is able to comment, but I know that we only hold data for the purposes for which we have advised people that that we are going to do so, and that is, that is very clear in all of our data processing notices, and all of our privacy notices that we have around any data that's collected, even internally with regard to staff. So the business intelligence aspect probably more refers to research around developing new systems, and also, I suppose, improvements in our management information and the information that we would be bringing to council, and trying to have a more integrated approach between those. So, I mean, ideally, this idea of a dashboard where you would have all of the key information coming together is what was intended in terms of business intelligence there. But I possibly would ask Margaret just to confirm what I've said there about data processing and the privacy notices as well.
I'm sorry, Margaret, it wasn't your last
not finished yet.
talk to us, but Margaret, could you come in on that point, please?
Certainly, Chair. Yes, just to answer in relation to cookies, specifically in relation to cookies, we can send you the link, but if you go to our website, all our privacy statements are on the website, and it explains to people why we hold information, what information we hold, what their rights are in terms of that information, whether it's to ask for it to be deleted or whatever. But there is a specific privacy statement in relation to the cookie policy, and it is there for, it explains which cookies we use and why we use it, or why we use them, I should say. We don't use them to collect personally identifiable information, and you can restrict or block the cookies, and we give details of how to look at the cookies for Facebook, Twitter, etc. So that is available on the website, and you'll be able to see how we deal with personal information in that way, if that answers your question.
Councillor O'Coffey, are you satisfied with that answer?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I see the policy there, and I also note that we do not sell personal information, which is something that perhaps the main concern for me was. So I thank you, and I just want to take the opportunity to wish Margaret well with her retirement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Coffey. Councillor Eamon Keenan.
Thank you, thank you, Chair. Page 7, it says Northern Ireland Executive Cyber Security. Yeah, we'll make a commitment that Northern Ireland will be one of the world's leading cyber economies and pioneering research and innovation. Is that, I'm wondering, is that to do with Project Horizon, the PSNA, working with the Israeli cybersecurity team? Is that a similar project, or is that anything to do with them?
Celine, are you aware?
Chair, my understanding would be that that is one of the key aspects of the economic strategies for Northern Ireland, that digital services and cyber security would become areas of expertise for Northern Ireland, so that we then, that young people are trained in that, and that becomes part of the economy support. I'm certainly not aware, I mean, I know where we have referenced this, and there's certainly no direct connection with any PSNI or Horizon projects or anything related to that. It is much more generic economic proposal and skills development proposal.
Councillor Keenan. Okay, Councillor Warrington, your hand is still up. You wish to come back in again? Okay, it's down now. Okay, members, we've heard it proposed and seconded that we approve recommendations on this. Is there any dissenters to that, or people in disagreement? I'm seeing no dissenters, so that is passed. Thank you, Celine. We now move on to 6.4, to consider report of Director of Corporate Services and Governance. That is paper E, and again, Celine.
Chair and members, there's one item for decision, which is the National Association of Councillors Conference, which is at the end of this month from the 26th to the 28th of November in Lytham, St Anne's. And for any members who wish to attend, we would require a nomination and confirmation at the meeting tonight. Do you wish to pause to deal with that,
I
Chair?
think we should deal with that. Have anybody wishing? Councillor Warrington?
Thank you, Chair. Well, as somebody who is a regular attender of the NAC, I certainly would have no interest in travelling the whole way over to England to take part in a conference. So I would propose that we just note this correspondence. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Emmett McAleer?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's not often myself and Councillor Warrington see eye to eye on things, but I'm just querying: is this conference or facility available online? Because at the expense and talking about climate and the climate emergency, and then flying people in from around the world to sit in or around these islands, at least to spend a weekend in Lytham, I'm sure is a lovely place that it is. I would have reservations about that. Can I mention a couple of other points in the paper as well, Chair, or do you want to deal with a specific issue first?
No, are you seconding, Councillor Warrington? Do we simply note this?
I'm happy enough to note it. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll let you go on there for another couple of minutes.
In relation to item 3.2.2 and the update to stand orders, I've spoken with another director in relation to this, and I think it's a very interesting developing issue, and obviously someone who's not on the planning committee. It's
sorry. I just wanted to get this NAC one out of the road first.
Oh,
of all,
sorry.
and
Yeah,
I'll let you come back in
Thank you.
again. Members, you've heard it proposed by Councillor Warrington and seconded by Councillor Keenan. I'm sorry, McAleer, that we just note the NAC. Any of you in agreement? Oh, sorry, I couldn't see. Oh, okay, sorry, it's working between two screens here. So we've heard it proposed and seconded. We note that. Is everybody in agreement? Okay, so that's passed. And then I go back to you, Celine.
Thank you, Chair. If I just take you through the rest of the items, and then hopefully we can open up for discussion. So 3.1 is just to advise members of a review on being coordinated by the Department for Communities around local government reform and the impact on service delivery and cost effectiveness. The terms of reference are attached in Appendix, and our colleague Catherine Leonard, Head of Finance, is working in support of that. It'll be, I suppose, an interesting report whenever it is received and published. Item 3.2 then is firstly to note that there haven't been, we said that we would report on the Constitution on a quarterly basis, so to date there hasn't been any recent amendments. However, item 3.2.2 did flag the fact that most members may have seen or read about a recent judicial review matter, and at the point of writing this report, we were awaiting further legal advice and again discussion with other councillors. The issue was that the finding of the judicial review was that there was scope for call-in on this particular planning matter, and that is at odds with the standing orders, and bearing in mind that most of the standing orders did come through from the Department for Communities. We understand that there is further consideration of this matter by the Department for Communities, but we would be proposing to address this potential, I suppose, mismatch, that we would have a temporary amendment to the Council's standing orders, and particularly 21.1b, and essentially remove that item, 21.1b, items 1 to 5. Oh, sorry, just one. Item 21.1b, item 1 would be deleted as a temporary amendment to the Council's standing orders to ensure compliance with the current case law and in the absence of any other legal advice, which we do anticipate coming forward. Item 3.3 is another interesting one, which is a call for evidence from NILGA on abuse and intimidation of councillors, and we would obviously encourage councillors to make a response there through the details that are available. And finally, I would just refer you also to a further item of correspondence from NILGA, which is in the other correspondence section 8.3, and it's document number 3, which is highlighting an event on climate emergency, specifically for councillors. It's running over 2 afternoons. And to date, I'm aware that councillors Armstrong, Curry and Deehan have indicated that they wish to participate in that virtual event. There's a £10 fee for a related qualification matter, so your approval would be sought for that, and then any other members who wish to attend those particular NILGA events on climate emergency. So that is all of the items there. We've dealt with item 1, so the remaining items there were for noting, but I would now ask for your approval for a temporary amendment to the standing order to 21.1b brackets 1 to address the recent finding of the judicial review.
Celine, Councillor Mcguire, I know you had some comments to make there.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for coming back to me, and thanks, Celine, for that update. I think that it's a very interesting development, and I'm not 100% up to speed. As you say, there's been some coverage in the press about this. I'd like to maybe propose that as the judgment is passed and as we're made aware of what the details surrounding the judicial review and the outcome of it is, that all councillors, and maybe not just the planning committee councillors, are updated on that. I'd like to, if possible, raise that as a proposal, because obviously, as you say, it's going to have a knock-on on one of the quasi-judicial arms of the council. I was also very interested in looking at Appendix 2 and some of the terms of reference and powers that have passed on to council following the merger of the councils, or the formation of the super councils. There's a number of them there, I suppose, that they catch the eye. Under local development, there's 1.4 there is investing for women, which sounds like a huge scope and something that is very worthwhile So I hope it's something that we are investing in. There's also there's a number under tourism, small scale tourism accommodation development, but there's one under housing, and there's point 2 under housing, that housing unfitness responsibilities, including repair and demolition notices. So it's the repair aspect of that is something I suppose we're aware of a number of issues. One that we've addressed a couple of times in terms of Ravensbury and how that fits in with their commitments as a local authority. So I suppose just being made aware of these specific terms of reference, I would be keen to find out what the responsibilities of the council are in terms of that, Chair.
Okay, I just before I hand over to Alison here, I think Celine intimated that this was a temporary until we got further legal advice. So we're looking approval that we remove that. I mean, are you more or less proposing that we remove that line and we in turn get advice back to all members as soon as is practicable on the legal advice?
I haven't read the line yet. I'm happy enough to do that, happy enough to propose
Oh,
that, Chair.
okay, it's just to clarify that point. Some of the other points I'm going to ask Alison to come in, please.
Yes, Chair. Just I suppose the bullet points at the top of each of the sections. So Investing for Women was a specific funding programme that transferred from Invest Northern Ireland to councils. It's also one of the performance measures that's tracked. And from memory, we got a very modest amount, I think less than £1,000 possibly. So they related to specific programmes which transferred from what was the parent department at that stage. In terms of the unfitness, again, it was specific provision which came from DSD, and it relates primarily to some limited environmental health duties. So in terms of, let's say, developer failure or inadequacies of infrastructure, that would not qualify under that heading. So they're actually very limited provision in terms of the DSD function which transferred. Members may be aware this also was the link function for regeneration, and ultimately it was the wider suite of regeneration and housing powers that fell at the point of transfer. So it's very limited in terms of the provision. Specifically in terms of Ravensbury, I know we are going to be bringing a report around that and I suppose the different legislative basis that it would be considered under, Chair.
Again, Councillor Mcguire, are you happy with that? Okay then. We have a proposal from Councillor Mcguire. I'm looking for a seconder, and I have Councillor Mary Garrity. Councillor Mary Garrity, can you confirm?
Chair, just getting unmuted here. And Chair, I'm content to second with Celine's guidance there on the item in hand regarding the planning, the item 21.1, item 1. So I'm happy with that. I would just like to say, I think it's a bit ironic that item 3.3, NILGA and their call for evidence on abuse and intimidation of councillors, where I'm not going to suggest writing or insulting everybody's intelligence here, but they all know where it goes on and what it goes on, and all they have to do is be hop on a computer or a social media platform at any time, and they'd see great examples of it. I respect what they're trying to do with this so-called sort of questionnaire scenario, or call for evidence, whatever they want to refer to. But you know, really, I don't hold out much faith in what can be done in the future, because at the minute it's just a barrage of hatred that goes on some of those platforms to people in public life, and it's not really acceptable.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Garrity.
Thank you.
Councillor Coffey.
I'm just happy to second the proposal by Councillor Mcguire. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I think Councillor Garrity got in before you, if that's... Okay, members, you've heard it proposed and seconded that we note all those issues, and we more or less say we give approval for that change in standing orders.
Chair, just for clarity, I'll read the line of 21.1b. It currently states the following decisions shall not be subject to call-in. Number 1, a decision made on a regulatory or quasi-judicial function which is subject to a separate appeal mechanism. So that is the line that we are removing. So that means that there is scope for call-in on by default on those particular issues. So I hope that that clarifies the particular detail there. And secondly, the final approval matter now, which wasn't at the time of writing this report, is approval for the 3 councillors that I mentioned to attend the climate emergency event and to, if they so wish, to take up the accreditation aspect of that. And again, just to remind if members, if there's anyone else who wishes to attend, if that could be indicated, please, as soon as possible.
Okay, members, is there anybody further to the 3 that wish to take that place? Not getting any response. I take it that Councillor Mcguire and you're quite happy to approve the 3 within what we have already accepted.
Yeah, Chair, I would actually be interested in attending that one myself. That's the 2 dates in December, is that right?
Yes.
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
I'll put my own name down for that, but happy enough for
And you're
for
happy
anyone
enough
else
to
that wants to
approve
go,
the
yeah.
other 3, is that right? Councillor Keenan?
I'd like to attend that as well, yeah.
Right, you wish to attend. Again, I'm back to Councillor McAleer. You're quite happy to approve, Councillor. Okay, thank you. And I take it, Councillor Garrity, you're quite happy to second that as well. The next one I have, and I noticed I have Councillor John Coyle in here. Okay, Councillor Coyle.
Yeah, Chair, I would like to attend the climate training as well. I think it's worthwhile if I can, please.
Okay, thank you. Is there any further before I? Councillor Armstrong? No. Right, for the last time, I'm going back that.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, if I may, it's just for the record, this is an online session that we will be attending via Zoom. It's just for interested parties to be assured.
Sorry, Councillor Armstrong, could you speak up because I really couldn't hear you very well.
Beg your pardon, Chair. Just to for the listeners, just to say that this is an online Zoom training that we'll be attending virtually. It's for members to let them know that it is delivered online.
Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much, Councillor Armstrong.
Attending. Thank you,
And
Chair.
again, just as a wrap up, Councillor McAleer, you're approving all those that have requested, and Councillor Garrity is seconding that. All agreed? Okay. I think that's all the issues in that paper.
That is, Chair. Yes, thank you.
Okay. The next item we have on the agenda is reports for information, and that is number 7, Corporate Services and Governance Directorate Report. And 7.1 is to note report on staff matters, that is paper F.
Chair, 3 items for information, COVID update, information on local government pay negotiations that continue. And at item 2.3, just reference to a consultation on the local government pension scheme, which relates specifically to arrangements for survivor benefits and some other technical amendments. And again, we would propose that we would have an officer submission, but are content and happy that that's circulated to members as well, if that is their wish. I would also highlight to you a further item which has been added to other correspondence at 8.3 brackets 2, and that is the annual report and accounts of NILGOS, the Northern Ireland Local Government Officer Pension Scheme. The recommendations are that all of those items are noted.
Councillor Coffey?
Yeah, my apologies. I should have mentioned this earlier, and I didn't realize this paper was in the open session. But item 2.2, I was just interest there. Obviously, as a trade.
Declaration of interest. Okay, thank you. Councillor Irvine.
Thank you very much, Chair. Happy to propose the recommendations as noted at 8.
Okay, thank you very much. Have we a seconder? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, happy to second, Chair.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, members, you've heard it proposed and seconded that we note the recommendations. Everybody agreed? No dissent. The next item on the agenda is item 8, correspondence. And the first one is 8.1, to consider correspondence dated the 19th of October 2021 from BT regarding the removal of a payphone at Bow Island, Roscrana, I think is that the pronunciation, BT 932AQ. The copy is attached. Alison.
Sorry, Chair. Well, really, as you can see from the letter, BT are proposing to remove the public payphone at the junction as indicated, and they've advised that it has recently been hit by a vehicle and they're removing therefore on road safety grounds.
Okay, the first person wishing to speak is Councillor John Coyle.
Thank you, Chair. It's Roscrana, so it is the town land, but I'll propose that we note this correspondence. There is another phone box within half a mile, and it is. I've spoken to local residents and have no concerns. Thank you.
Okay, and I'm sure I knew I was going to get the pronunciation wrong there, so thanks for the correction. Councillor Mcguire.
Thank you, Chair. No, and I'm happy to hear Councillor Coyle's input there. I suppose some of the questions I was going to raise were the monitoring of the last 12 months and the very low or no usage given the COVID pandemic, and I suppose the reality of the location. You might expect it to be very low use, and if there are only one or two people maybe using it or who rely on it, it would be really checking to see if it was okay to let it go. I suppose probably an area that doesn't have the best of mobile phone coverage or broadband provision either. So with the input from Councillor Coyle there and the assurance that the local people are happy enough that there's one nearby if need be, I'm happy enough to second that proposal, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mcguire. Councillor Curry, were you looking in this or hands down now? Okay, members, you've heard it proposed that we note this document. Councillor McElduff.
Yes, Chair. It's just a related matter. Some time ago.
Sorry, I'll more or less get this passed first.
It is directly related.
Okay. It's proposed and seconded that we note the last item of correspondence. All in agreement? Right, no dissent. Councillor McElduff.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Chair, in some rural areas, these kiosks, which remain functional, are located beside an adjoining premises. You know, could be a house in the country. And I think we were to write, and I'm sure we did write as a council, to seek clarification from Mr. Blanche about whether or not BT has a responsibility or a duty to enhance broadband in the vicinity or at an adjoining property where there is a kiosk so located, you know. So I'm just wondering if we ever got a response from Mr. Blanche to that query, and if not, propose to write again asking that very question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff. Chief Executive.
No, just to confirm, Chair, we didn't receive a response, and certainly we can reissue. I wonder if Councillor McElduff was minded, Chair. I think it may be an issue that Mr. Blanche has a very specific responsibilities regarding the removal or relocation, if required, of phone boxes. It may be more appropriate to elevate it within BT. If Councillor McElduff was content on that basis, but we could obviously copy it to Mr. Blanche as part of that.
Councillor McElduff, are you happy with that? Councillor McElduff?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much for that. Thanks, Alison, as well.
Okay. The next one I have is Councillor John Coyle.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second Councillor McElduff's proposal, but I wonder, could we ask, in Air North there is a number of, of the red telephone boxes. There has been very little maintenance of these, telephone kiosks, and could we maybe write in the letter or even to Mr. Blanche that to see if some kind of investment or of some maintenance in them, because make them more attractive and kind of safeguard them for the future, there has been little investment in probably in the Fermanagh and Ohm area, and there's probably many telephone boxes in villages and rural areas that haven't got any attention in this past number of years. So it's vitally important that we keep these icons of the past.
I'm just clarifying, can that be the same letter? Asking the Chief Executive. Okay, Councillor Mccaffrey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This is an issue I've wanted to raise for a while, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity if I can perhaps put it into the letter as well. It has been announced from 2025 that all landline calls will be over the internet. And obviously that would have a profound impact on our area, considering the fact that there are still quite a few areas where there's either poor or no internet. And also the alternative will be to rely on mobile signals. And obviously this will impact any such static phone boxes and so on, which probably will not have the capacity. So I'm wondering if we can propose that we raise concerns around that plan, which is very around the corner, 2025. I understand it's Openreach and Virgin and all these have all signed up to it. And in particular, it will obviously push people who are currently only on a tariff which is relatively low for a landline to actually having to pay for a full broadband package. And there's cost implications of all that. So I just wonder if that's something we can add in and I'd propose that. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coffey, Chief Executive.
Chair, we could certainly with members' consent include that, just to say it was an area that we actually did quite a bit on with the broadband working group in the previous mandate. So it's the VoIP protocols, and BT did actually come at that point and do a presentation to members as well. So we could maybe review what they had said at that point, but certainly, Chair, we could incorporate that in if members are content.
Okay, well, I'll come back to Councillor Michael Duff. Are you happy to incorporate that? Councillor Michael Duff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. No issue. I'm happy to incorporate.
Thank you. And Councillor Coyle, you were seconding, so you're happy to incorporate that?
Thumbs up.
Okay.
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. And Councillor Armstrong, you're looking in?
Yes, Chair, just to support Councillor Coyle at the topic of the icons of the past. They may be a curiosity also for younger people in the district. So I would support an approach to BT. After all, they belong to BT to restore and to clean them up. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. We've heard it proposed and seconded that we forward that letter with all the inclusions there. Everybody in agreement? Okay, I'm taking, there's no dissenters. That's fine, we passed. The next issue is 8.2, and that's to consider correspondence dated the 5th of November 2021 from Southwest College regarding engagement with councillors. Copy was attached. I bring in Alison, please. Sorry, I'm just noticing there's a Councillor McAleer.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just to declare an interest in this one. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting in question as I was still at work in the college at that time.
Okay.
But I note with interest just I don't know what you said to the interim director, that the council is not, the college isn't accountable to the college or the council, and would appreciate that future meetings are conducted in that spirit. I read that line with interest, so I don't know what exactly happened in the meeting, but I look forward to hearing back. Thank you, Chair.
Maybe I'll hear back from the other channel. I'm looking, there's quite a few speakers here. I wanted, is there any other conflicts of interest coming through? No, I'll ask Alison to summarise and then I'll take the speakers.
Okay, well, just very briefly, Chair, we had the informal meeting last week, which was very constructive, and in the course of that engagement, our members felt there would be a benefit in what was described as a formal meeting twice per annum. So I think maybe the reference in the letter is a potential concern around the accountability side, but certainly the Southwest College were very keen to say that they welcomed the engagement and would be keen to meet with the council twice a year on a structured agenda basis. So that might just provide it might be more around the terminology that was used at the meeting rather than the actual tone or debate, which was very constructive and positive.
Okay, thank you, Alison. The first speaker I have is Councillor Bernie Swift.
Mágad Cahirlock, and yes, it was great to meet Colin and all his colleagues. It was a very useful meeting, as Alison is after outlining, and I would like to take this opportunity again to congratulate the Southwest College on being the largest passive house premium rated building in the world. It has been fantastic news right across our district, and we know that tomorrow they are in Glasgow at the COP26 Global Summit, where they're engaging a special workshop on all of the same. So we wish them the very best, a good luck at that also. And I feel very strongly, as the college has received such world renowned success, and applause to one and all who was involved in that getting to where it has achieved its success. I feel an appropriate chairman's celebration should be afforded to acknowledge the success of all the same. So I propose that our illustrious chairman would actually provide a very appropriate celebration where we can all applause with great cheer on the fantastic success. Gur Magat.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to alternate now. I'm going to go over to the to WebEx. Councillor Deacon, you're next to speak.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And if Councillor Swift is proposing to note this correspondence, I will second that. I too would like to offer my congratulations to the Southwest College Earn campus for their magnificent achievement in terms of the largest passive house development. I have to say that I found the engagement with Southwest College senior management team to be a very positive and constructive one. And Chair, I think it does demonstrate that the Southwest College is a very progressive organisation that seeks to meet the educational and training needs of our local community across all age groups, I'm pleased to say. So I feel that it is something that we should continue, and Mr. Lewis is proposing in his letter that we engage on a 6-monthly basis, and I think that that is appropriate, an appropriate interval to meet and share ideas and concerns, and so I would propose that accordingly. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Deacon. The next one is in the chamber here, Councillor Earl Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair. And can I thank Councillor Deacon for positive comments about me there. Not too many times I'm called an illustrious chairman, but there you are. I'll take that as a compliment. Just with regard to the meeting itself, I thought it was a very constructive and positive meeting that we did have with the senior management team of the Southwest College that afternoon. And I certainly would support having, as Councillor Deacon, I think it proposed it there, that we have a more structured meeting, I suppose, twice a year, and that's probably the way to go forward with it. With regard to a suitable or appropriate reception, I'm willing to consider that, and I've already spoken with the Chief Executive on it, so that will come in due course. So thanks for letting me in, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Next speaker, we're going back to WebEx. Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. No, just a few things. It's fantastic to see the building the way it is, and where it is, and all of that. But I would like to ask Alison, about 6 months ago, I proposed that we would write to the Southwest College and request that the councillors would be provided with a visit before the opening or after the opening or whatever. But that never seemed to get a reply on that. And there was a lot of people at the opening and a lot of people that probably had no connection whatsoever with the council at the or with the college at the opening. It probably was the first time they were ever on site or went past it. But I remember in the Legacy Council that through the pure persistence of Councillor O'Reilly, that the council bought that old hospital site and tried, and we succeeded in getting the college to move to that site and build that state-of-the-art building there. And the fact that I would perceive that the council was a kind of bypassed a wee bit, and there was very, very little engagement between the council and the college, and even on that request that I made and was passed unanimously by the council, and to get no reaction from it at all, I am quite disappointed in that. So maybe Alison could update me on that. And just I still think that the council, because it was, and especially the old Legacy Council, Fermanagh Council, that they had such an involvement in this, I think the very least that should be done is that the councillors should get a visit round this world-class establishment that we have in County Fermanagh, or the Fermanagh Noma district. And so I'm quite interested to see what the follow-up on that was, Alex.
Yes, Chair, certainly. As Councillor Green has indicated, the council had requested, and we did write. I didn't receive a response to the correspondence, but I did speak to the then Chief Executive, and members may recall there were a number of public, or this was prior to the official opening, but showings for other elected members. And I did highlight that at the time to the Chief Executive. So he indicated there was a particular concern around COVID restrictions at that time, and they wouldn't be able to accommodate large crowds of our members or of any visitors at that stage because of the COVID restrictions, but that the matter would be reviewed when the college opened. At the opening, I certainly had an opportunity to speak to some of the officers who also indicated that there were some relaxations now in place, and that they would be happy to accommodate small groups of councillors. But at this stage, I haven't an indication of what the maximum number in a group could be. But certainly, I think there is a willingness to accommodate us, Chair, but my sense is it could be maybe in groups of 5 or 6 rather than, say, 20 or larger numbers than that. Now, I can certainly go back on the back of Councillor Green's comments to clarify what the numbers would be, but I do think we would be waiting some time before there would be a large grouping. They also indicated in relation to the support of the council, I know that we had requested an opportunity for the chair to be able to speak at the opening, to be able to reflect particularly on the work of the Legacy Fermanagh District Council, and that was reflected in the chair's comments. So I suppose in summary, Chair, received no official response, did follow up with officers. I think there is a willingness, but it will certainly be smaller numbers until the wider relaxations are, or sorry, wider restrictions are lifted.
Okay, Councillor Green? Answered that one.
Thank you for that, Alison. And I would almost be of the opinion that the fact that they didn't respond officially, that just isn't good enough. As for the small groups of councillors, I do bring loads of young people every day who go to it. I presume they're not walking about in groups of 5 in it. I'm not sure why councillors are being treated, or politicians are being treated in this way. I have 50 people in a bus every day for 5 or 6 hours. We look at the council chamber, there's only 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 politicians allowed in it. I really do think we need to start catching ourselves on act like the rest of the society is act. And but if it takes that as 5 or 10 at a time that goes in round it, I'm happy enough with that if we do need to be precious about ourselves.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Green. I think further inquiries need to be made there. Getting back to the chamber, the next speaker is Councillor Mcguire.
Kearney, thanks, Howard. And similar to Councillor Green, I think the council involvement at the early stages of the location of the new college, I think, has slightly been overlooked in the opening ceremony. But notwithstanding that, and I understand the pandemic has created some dynamic in numbers and stuff, so we'll not dwell on that. But I did meet with the previous chief executive with other political colleagues of my own, and it was all very positive. First Minister O'Neill and MLA Dolan was with me, and we did discuss the opening, and he did seem to suggest that indeed there would be an invitation to the local councillors when I was speaking to him personally, but unfortunately it didn't come to pass. And again, I'm conscious that we did initiate what we were anticipating as a problem in traffic flow issues and that, and we did have a meeting, and I did request a second meeting. It didn't happen, but could I just say, thankfully, and I'm glad to see, or at least I haven't had any major reports of any additional traffic jams or problems with the traffic flow. So I hope that will continue post-pandemic. I suppose that has to be considered at this stage. But given now that the college is up and it's got international recognition, it is, I think it is timely that we as councillors should be given a tour of the building. It's an international building positioned, within our town, and I think it was a slight oversight not to invite us as a separate group. But the opportunity is there now on the back of Councillor Swift's proposal of a chairman's reception for them, that maybe it could be a chairman's delegation to the site, and that we make a fuss of them while they make a fuss of us, and we'll all say what a great building and what a great future it does offer to the young people of our district. And the cooperation that was obvious from the first meeting is to be welcomed, and I'm glad to see that this engagement will continue, because the enthusiasm of some of the lecturers was infectious, and notwithstanding the council involvement and anticipating all the potential employment and that across our district, it really is a positive thing for Mananoma. But not complaining too much, but I think we could get a wee invite, or we'll work out something in the future. Margaret, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Mcguire. Now, there is still quite a lot of speakers on this, and if they could keep really their comments to quite brief. Councillor McElduff, you're the next speaker.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. The meeting was positive, but the meeting didn't have an agenda, and the meeting was framed, I believe, in a limp way. It was framed as giving us an opportunity to make representations on behalf of students who may have raised concerns with us. So personally speaking, if I was being honest here, in paragraph 3, that is an admonishment from Colin Lewis. We are not accountable to the council. Now, early in the mandate of this council, I've proposed, and it was accepted by the council, that we seek to develop this relationship in a formal way, and that we meet twice a year. And that had fallen by the wayside during pandemic. We reignited it. Now it's coming forward as Colin's suggestion, which is dead on. We're not precious about that. But I think that is a kind of an unfortunate comment in paragraph 3 there. It does amount to an admonishment. I think it reveals a mindset somewhere in the senior management. And what Councillor Green and Councillor Mcguire have said, I would agree with them 100%. And I believe it would have been an oversight, and not a good one, to not invite councillors, because we should write back and say that we want future meetings to be conducted in a spirit of partnership and respect. Now, there were some positives in the meeting. For example, Kieran McManus, a director, did indicate that in the spirit of social inclusion, that they were willing to look at providing more courses in community centre settings And certainly from an OMA point of view, that has been requested within the community sector in OMA, within the whole neighbourhood renewal process. So, you know, if you're reading between the lines in that letter, that third paragraph is an unfortunate admonishment to the council, and I take it in that spirit. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff. The next speaker, back to the chamber again, although declared interest, Councillor Mcguire.
Thank you, Chair. No, it's just a point of clarification on a couple of the issues raised during the discussion. Although other areas and other businesses and that are opening the doors and relaxing the COVID relaxations, the college itself still maintains the 2-metre social distancing within the college and within the campus. So students, apart from, as Councillor Green rightly says, on the bus, whenever they get on site, apart from the classroom, they're still required to socially distance. So just to clarify that, now I'm not getting involved in the debate or discussion, but just to make that point, Chair.
I think that's a good point to clarify there. Thank you. Next one on the list there is Councillor Anthony Feely.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and I'll be brief as usual. Yeah, it's just that well, firstly, I missed the informal meeting with them, and I'm sorry I missed it, but something came up, and I would enjoy that if I don't like missing too many meetings, but I missed that meeting, so. And it's a pity, like, and it is a great building. It's kind of an iconic looking building at the moment there in our island town there. And I'm just coming in the same as Seamus there, a bit disappointed the way we weren't asked. But I know Alison, thanks to Alison for replying and saying that. And the COVID, like, it's probably the COVID's being used as a bit of an excuse, like, or a lot of other issues like that. But I know where Alison's coming from. And I think maybe if we were even asked, maybe DA basis, I know it'd take a long time, but each DA asked coming at different times, you know. Because I know a guy that works in the college, and I'd be chatting most weekends there, and he just took for granted that we would be there, because he said one weekend I'll be seeing you, and a week or two after, yes, I used to be coming to see the college. He took for granted that we would have been there. He was probably getting us mixed up with the MLAs and maybe the MP or the politician, but he just took for granted that we would be there, and we weren't there. So I'm kind of disappointed about that, you know. But when I am talking, I just want to pay a wee bit of tribute here to my colleagues here on the previous council from Manor District Council, and I know Seamus and Tommy mentioned there. They're putting serious work to get this project through, and I know especially Councillor Thomas O'Reilly, and he would be a man that wouldn't do any self-praise, but I'm going to praise him here tonight for the work he put in, along with Seamus and Tommy, and I'd say Brian Mccaffrey too, and I hope I'm leaving nobody out, but I just want to pay tribute to my previous, to my colleagues for the work that they put in to get the college situated there, and about the good success it has been there now. But hopefully we will get a tour of the college, because I would like to see it myself, and I see it with the whole climate now and everything, and all that there, the way it has been so successful, you know. So I just want to put that on the record, and hopefully we will get to see it sometime. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthony, and I take it that credit goes to all councillors who were involved, right across to all the parties. Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I'm more than happy to second Councillor McElduff's proposal in emphasising to the college that what we are seeking out is very much a partnership approach and wanting to work collaboratively, because I think that it was a very welcome opportunity, just given how significant a stakeholder the college is in Enniskillen and Oma and in the wider region. But I think that anybody who was present for those conversations recognises that it wasn't I don't think that there was any misplaced or confused ideas around accountability. I think that what we were seeking out was a closer and more constructive partnership between the council and the college. And of course, we asked pretty robust questions around services within the community, around how the college is catering its plans for the future in terms of the direction of travel, around the skills that are going to be needed for the future economy. But equally going forward, those are challenges and those are questions that are going to be posed to ourselves as a corporate body. And I think that going forward, we're going to need to have that spirit of partnership, but also that spirit of mutual constructive challenge to each other. And hopefully that's something that can be further embedded as we begin to formalise these meetings going forward. But certainly I don't think there's any confusion around sort of what the role of this is supposed to be. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now there's still several speakers coming in here on the same topic, and I really am going to have to ask them to be extremely brief because we do have to move on. This is a point for noting here. Councillor Mccaffrey.
Thank you for letting me in. Yeah, I acknowledge this is a huge resource and an asset to our council area. I'm just wondering whether there was any clarification in the meeting as to what will happen to the former the Jail Square site, because I think that's a very significant asset for the county town as well. And in particular, if there wasn't any indication on that, whether we could, I'd like to propose we'd write to the appropriate department to find out if there were any possible plans for that site, in particular, given the hubs that have been proposed by the department, by the executive. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Chief Executive.
Mr. Chair, there was no specific discussion regarding the Fairview site, but I know from previous discussions that it has been deemed surplus, as I understand it, by the college, so I'm assuming it would just go through the disposal process, but we could certainly seek formal clarification on that, Chair.
Okay, the next one, Councillor Mary Garty.
Thank you, Chair, and I'll be as brief as I can. And if you need a seconder for Donnelly's proposal there for seeking that clarity, I'm happy to do that. Chair, meeting I found useful and enjoyable. That insert in paragraph 3 does not reflect the conversations and the tone in the meeting. It is regrettable, I think, that sentence by the interim Chief Executive, Colin, and I don't think there'd been any malice intended. But my point is, Chair, I think I regret we didn't get a tour. I agree with Seamus. I don't think we would have had a 40 councillors turning up to see it, and that would be regrettable. And I'm going to just bring in very briefly on this because it has been alluded to, the work that people do and is not recognised. There's a couple of, we had a situation in the Live where the council were badly left out and not acknowledged, and we had another one earlier this week where we had the opening of a running track at St Michael's, and I think the heading was something that opens today in front of a large crowd of special dignitaries and attendees. Now, we certainly had some of those in attendance, and we know well, and I would put the chair of the council to be one of those people, but this also includes many people directly involved with the project. Many people involved in that project were not invited and were not referenced. So I think as a council, we need to be making sure we get the good news story out, that good work that we do and the input. This is not a failure of the council as far as I'm aware, but I do think that a lot of work was done in the background, and indeed by the former director, Robert Gibson, which I want to pay tribute to for his work and cooperation on this matter. And I know people that are in the know who does the work, but I think as a council we do need to promote what we do well. And the college, we had a great input in that. The running track, we had a great impact, and issues that I've experienced in the Live where the council are almost shunned. I think from here on in we need to take a stance and say, listen, there's things we do well, and we're going to be highlighted for that because we get enough flack. But as I say, going forward, I look forward to the meetings with the college, but I think we need to up our game, and when we, thank you, Diana, do good work, that it should be highlighted. Thank you, Chair. We're kind of sick working in the background quietly. Thank you.
I hand over to Chief Executive.
Just very briefly, Chair, on the St Michael's running track, I know that the guest list was not the council's, but I do know that the Chair of the Council and the Enniskillen DEA members were invited. My understanding is that our former colleague Robert Gibson was invited in a personal capacity, but I know he wasn't in attendance, but certainly that's my understanding. I am aware indirectly of some previous issues in terms of lag related events, and I do think in a couple of circumstances they were at extremely short notice that the availability of others had been advised. But I think it's a very valid point, Chair, and we'll certainly follow up with the lag as well as others. But I suppose the official position from a council perspective would be that the chair would be invited. Then sometimes the organisers would widen that out in terms of DEAs or other representatives, and we would provide the information as requested.
Okay, thank you, Chief Executive. The very last speaker on this is Councillor Keenan.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was going to second those proposal, writing to find out about the Jail Square site.
Okay, that's already happened.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, members, there's quite a few proposals there. First of all, the first proposal, Councillor Swift, to note, take it that total agreement there, sent. And the next one I have a note of is Councillor McElduff. Is that correct, Chief Executive? Who was that seconded by? Councillor Stephen Donnelly. Is everybody happy to pass that? No dissent there. And the last one was, you summarise, I
Yep.
think, there.
Okay, we had a couple of others. So Councillor Deehan, seconded by Councillor Thompson, proposed that we would proceed to meet, or I suppose reiterate or formalise maybe the 6 monthly meeting basis with a structured agenda. Councillor Green had also indicated the need to follow up again in relation to the visits for councillors, and that could potentially be done by, subsequently commented by DEA groupings or small groupings at least. And then finally, Councillor O'Coffey, seconded by Councillor Garrity, just the clarifications regarding the Fairview site and if there are any specific plans for that site.
Okay, I take it everybody's in agreement. Consent. Okay, those are all passed. Thank you. Now we're moving on to 8.3, and that's other items of correspondence. Bring in Alison, please.
Chair, just to confirm, all items have been dealt with now in the course of the agenda, so that concludes the correspondence.
Okay, we move on now to item 9. Any urgent and relevant business. I've been given notification of one, which is Councillor Matthew Bell, if you wish to come in.
Sorry, Chair, just a bit of a delay on muting myself there. For those of you who's not aware, Gilligully Primary School has been marked to close from the 31st of August 2022. However, a campaign by various members of the local community has begun, and they are hoping for support from their elected representatives. I'm already aware that they've begun to reach out to people of various parties, including myself. Therefore, I propose that the council organises an informal meeting between the Board of Governors, the PTA, and any interested councillors. Although I suspect the councillors from West Tyrone will have the most interest. I also propose we as a council write to the Education Authority, expressing our concerns with the closure. Too many rural primary schools and other services have closed in our district in recent years, and we as a council should be lobbying on their behalf so they can continue to provide the high quality education. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Bell. The first one was Councillor Mark Buchanan.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd be very happy to second that proposal there made by Councillor Bell. I again have been contacted by people in the area, and it's unfortunately it's nothing new to us here in council to be facing school closures in rural areas. We have indeed debated it before, and I would fully support meeting this team who are involved in the campaign to keep this rural school open. Gilligully School has a very good name, and I would just like to add my support to that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so you're seconding. We'll go back to the chamber here. Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. And I've already had engagement with the school and the parents and have met with them. So I'd be more than happy to have an informal meeting where we support it and see where we can go from here.
Okay, thank you. I'm back now to Councillor Chris Mccaffrey.
I'd just like to offer my support for that proposal, which has been seconded, and well done to all of the councillors who have been involved in meeting the school. And it is great that there is cross-party support. I think Councillor Buchanan has said it correctly there. This is an issue which unfortunately our rural district faces time and time again. I think the Department of Education Authority need to realise that rural schools are a vital part of the community, act as a hub, not just for the school children, but also for the wider community. So I'm fully in support of this proposal and offering whatever help we can in keeping the school open. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Back to the chamber, Councillor Donald Coffey.
Very briefly, I just want to express my solidarity with the school. I don't need to reiterate the points. We all know it's a disgrace what's happened to our rural education, and anything in particular that I'm sure any of us can do, they can count upon. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Coffey. I move back now to WebEx. Councillor Josephine Deehan.
Thank you, Chair. Well, again, just to publicly voice my support for action to prevent the closure of Gilligully Primary School. and to say how much I'm saddened by this proposal. It's yet another blow for our rural communities. We need our primary schools to support and sustain our rural communities. And I think at the rate at which these schools are disappearing, we will finally reach the point where we have no rural primary schools. And I think that would be a complete disaster for our community. So it is fitting that we should resist this. It's fitting that as a council we should come to a position on it and do everything that we can to support the school, the teachers, the Board of Governors, the parents and the children. So glad to add my support, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, we've quite a few speakers still in this. Councillor Thompson in the chamber.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Well, I'm not going to rehearse a lot of what's been said, but other than to say that I have been engaged with the parent teachers and the association there and their secretary in particular. And I've also raised this at a higher level than me, namely the Northern Ireland Assembly. So hopefully they'll take it up with the appropriate minister.
Okay.
And I'm happy enough to support what has been said here this evening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Thompson. Move back now to WebEx, Councillor Anthony Feely.
Thank you, Chair, and I just want to thank Councillor Matthew Bell for bringing this up. I never even heard tell of that school and I know nothing about it, but I just want to let him know here is my full support and solidarity on it, because as most members know, we fought the closure of a school. I say we fought it for nearly 20 years. It finally closed, but I just want to give a bit of advice. Don't give up and fight to the bitter end. And I hope you don't meet the same resistance that we did in our school, Brala, down here. It was a secondary school. I know yours is a primary school, but just fight to the end, and hopefully you'll have good success. And fair play to you for bringing it up. And you may support behind you all the way.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Feely. The last speaker, Councillor Alan Rainey.
Well, thank you, Chair. And certainly, I want to add my support to an established seat of learning here at Gilligooly. I'm also delighted to see so much cross-party support for this. And on behalf of the teachers there, I would want to say thank you on their behalf as well. I trust that this will not be just mere words, that we will eventually have an outcome for this area. And Councillor Deacon has really, she has really highlighted what the overall effects of the closure of a rural school means. It's total decimation for that area. And so thank you, and I look forward to a hard-fought campaign.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Rainey. You've heard it proposed and seconded, and I think there's genuine support right across all parties here. Do we all agree? That is passed. Members, that's all the items I had under item 9. We now will move into part 2, confidential matters or matters exempt from publication. Can I have a proposer and a seconder to go into committee? Proposed by Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly and seconded by Councillor Earl Thompson. to record, getting a thumbs up there to record. If I could ask the Chief Executive to summarise what took place in a committee.
Chair, thank you. While in committee, the Council considered the confidential minutes of our previous meeting held on the 13th of October, and there were no matters arising from those minutes, and also considered an update in relation to a legal report and agreed a series of recommendations in relation to that report, Chair. Also the confidential staff matters report, and again noted that report and agreed with the recommendations.
Okay, thank you, Chief Executive. Could I get a proposer and a seconder? Councillor Thompson and Councillor Josephine Deacon. That's acceptance of what was said. See any disagreement there? Members, thank you very much. For the first time since I took over PNR, I have not had to extend for half an hour. Thank goodness. So I thank you all for your cooperation, and I thank all the officers and staff as well. And Margaret, thank you.